How's it going?
It's going good. Kind of been awaiting this interview just because of how amazing it is that I'm in Toronto and it's like 7 and you're in the morning. That's amazing.
It's 7 there in the morning?
It's 7 p.m.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, it's 9 here. 9 here.
Yeah, you're in the next day. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's so cool.
But yeah, how's everything going on with you and your family with everything going on in the world? How are you?
I'm good. I think we're pretty lucky in Australia. I don't really know what the situation in Canada is, but we've been locked down within our state, so we
Yeah,
can't really go to other states. But and I'm in Sydney, so there's relatively low cases. So my mom's a teacher; she still works. My dad's works in advertising; he still works, and my sister's at uni. That she can go in every so often. So it's pretty normal here at the moment. Like everyone's still careful, but yeah, we've been really lucky so far.
that's good to hear. Being from Toronto, we went into like a state of emergency back in March, but
Yeah,
over the course of the past couple of months, we went into these different phases. So we're currently in phase
yeah,
three, and we're doing really good. Everyone wears a mask. We're all social
yeah,
distancing, so we're all
nice.
doing really great.
Oh, good. That's good
Yeah,
to hear. Yeah, similar to here.
yeah. Just to start, my name is Jibril Osman. This platform is
Hello,
called
I'm
Studio.
Alex.
This is called Studio One. It's a
Yeah,
platform where I get interview international artists like yourself, artists across Canada, and local artists in Toronto. It's just a platform where I can have conversation with artists and really, shine a light on artists that I really want to talk to.
yeah,
So thank you for being on it. Before we begin, I know you're just about to. Can you briefly introduce yourself?
yeah. Hi, I'm Alex The Astronaut. I'm a musician from Australia.
Amazing. Um, on the topic of this year and things like that, I noticed you did like really amazing initiatives with your music and getting funding for certain things like that. Can you touch upon that before we really dive in to the music? Because I think that's really cool.
Yeah, two of the songs on my album have donations to specific charities. Um, Banksia donates to the Aboriginal Legal Services, which is a charity here that helps Aboriginal people get free legal services.
Yeah.
And then I Like to Dance. It's the 1-800 Respect service, which is an Australian counselling service and they do service like help with accommodation and stuff for people that are in domestically abusive relationships and trying to leave. Yeah, so those are the two charities that we chose. I think those two songs, it felt too weird to earn money off them.
Yeah.
And then I shaved my head for my friend who's a nurse in New York, and they didn't have any masks. So we tried to get. The first thing we tried to do is get masks, like from
Yeah.
the chemist here. Um, and me and the chemist up the road, we like had became friends because we like kept trying to work out how to get these masks that we had to America because there was like I don't know, but yeah, in the end it was just easier to raise money, so I just shaved my head and then gave. We got 11,000 Australian, so I don't know how much that is.
I think with everything that's going on, seeing so many different artists, really using their platforms and really pushing that, I think that's amazing. And I know it's been a really tough year for everybody, but I think that's really an amazing highlight for artists like yourself and seeing that.
Yeah, we've had having the bushfires at the start of the year. I think artists around the world are kind of looked to raise money. So lots of Australian artists did concerts. We all did concerts and
Yeah,
we all did fundraising for the bushfires, and so it's kind of just a continuation of that, I guess.
yeah. And now, talking about your early roots, I know you grew up in Sydney. You spent some time in London and school in America. Before you talk about those travels, what was it like, growing up in Sydney? Me being from Toronto, I'd love to hear that. How it was like growing up in Sydney.
Um, it was great. I started school in Melbourne. Like I traveled a lot as a little kid. I was lucky enough to live in lots of different places. I started school in Melbourne. Um, and yeah, I had a pretty fortunate childhood. Played a lot of sport. My parents are both very sporty people, so I was introduced to everything. I think I was like I'm the oldest kid, so
Yeah,
they like experimented all the sports on me. Like Dad wanted me to do athletics because he was did athletics, and then
yeah,
my mom played tennis. So they both had their eggs in their basket, and then I chose soccer, which was the sport that neither of them played. Um, but that was okay for them, I think. And then yeah, I don't know. It was a lot of beach. I think that would probably be the difference. I think Toronto inland. I can't even remember the
we
beach.
do have what was our lakes and things like that. So we do have like
Oh yeah,
major beaches around. But yeah, Sydney's it's like a world away going
yeah,
in context. So that must be cool.
yeah. Lots of beaches. I think that's probably the most notable thing of my childhood.
And I know you learned guitar at 13. Um, you touched upon playing soccer and things like that. At what point do you think music really became the focal point? I know you had a lot of different avenues you could have taken your life and things like that. I know again touching upon learning guitar. At what point do you think you were like music? This is the thing I really want to pursue.
Um, I think it almost came like it came in different, just the different streams kind of came in that I I was obsessed with music. Like I don't think my parents really know, but like for instance, my when I was like potty training
Yeah,
in when I was like 3 or something, I asked for a drum kit, and like I don't even know how I knew about drum kits, but I remember getting like a mini drum kit and being like, "This is." I was just really interested in it, and um, I I was never very good at it. Like in school, I was never like one of those kids that picked up everything and could play all the notes and read music and stuff. I just really liked it. And then when I was about 11, that's when my friend started playing guitar. So it wasn't really like me. It was like my friend who I thought was really
yeah,
cool. He was playing guitar, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And so mum and dad bought me a little acoustic guitar, and then I was like addicted, and I couldn't like I would pick it up and play in the morning before going to school, and my sister just hated it. She was so annoyed. I've
yeah,
got a little sister. She's 2 years younger than me, and I would play all the time. And I was so like when I'd get something like learn how to play Wonderwall or something, I'd go and sit on the stairs before
yeah.
school and play and think I was just this prodigy. Like I thought I was so good, and then like I would have been so bad. I was like 10, and I didn't know how the chords to play the chords properly, so it would have sounded terrible. But yeah, I just loved it. And then eventually I learned how to sing and play guitar. And then around that time I started changing the words of songs that I heard, and like eventually that kind of led in when I was about 13, I think, to start writing
Yeah.
my own proper songs, and they were so bad. I've found some of them recently, and it's embarrassing to read, but
It's all about the
everyone
progress.
has to start somewhere.
Yeah, it's all about the
um,
progress.
yeah. So yeah, it was kind of it wasn't really like I think I don't know around 16 maybe 15 we have like this thing in Australia called Triple J Unearthed, which
Yeah.
is like Triple J runs a radio station that's unsigned artists, and they have a thing called Triple J Unearthed High, which is where high school students submit a song. And so I think things like that, where I could submit a song and feel like someone was listening to the song that I was making, or it was going somewhere, and I'd put my little songs on SoundCloud and I'd send them to my friends, and that was kind of the start of it spreading from
Yeah.
just my bedroom. And then I would do all these courses in like how music business worked when I was in school, and like how to get your songs on Spotify and stuff. I put some of my songs on iTunes, I think. And then eventually I just was obsessed. So I just kept learning about it. And then eventually things started going my way. I was very lucky to meet some of the people that I met. And yeah, I don't know.
And I was going to touch upon that later in the interview because a large part of why I built Studio One was to give artists in Toronto like a platform, because our media scene, there's not a lot of platforms where artists can really send music or be interviewed, things like that. Triple J, I know, is really important for Australia and Australian artists and things like that. Talk to me about the importance of having a hub where it's important to have like media platforms that really give artists like a platform. I would love to hear your thoughts on that, because I really do think cities, it's so important for artists to have something to look at, like a Triple J.
Yeah, that made a massive difference for me, especially being in school. Like I never won anything. I never like got even reviewed or any, like, so how it works is like you submit a song onto the website and then there's potential for it to be on the big radio station Triple J, which is like, I think growing up, like it was a bit, sometimes it was like a radio station that was too cool for school for some kids, but it was always talked about and known. And like, I think when we were finishing school, it was probably the radio station that everyone had on in their cars.
Yeah.
And they championed Australian artists and young artists, and they did proper feature-length interviews with them. And like, there was like, it's like a system where like, it seemed like when you got into it, and they made these superheroes for us. Like growing up, you'd listen to Triple J and you'd admire people. Like for me, it was like ballpark music, or I don't know. I had lots of different little heroes, but they built that, and then they also built a path. So like me just submitting my little song on the internet, it felt like I did have a connection to that higher level, and I did get it, and then it did. I was lucky enough for it to build to that level. But yeah, having somewhere where it feels like a start and it feels like there's potential for you to go onto another level, I think is imperative for young artists, because otherwise you just feel like no one cares. And I think we, at least with Unearth, it feels like someone cares, and it feels like there's potential for you as an artist.
Yeah, I think it's so important.
It's really important what you're doing.
But yeah, going to your music, I know when you made the 2 EPs, I read that I know you just released an album. I read that you weren't really listening to albums, and you had to learn that whole thing. Talk to me about, I guess, that process. You release EPs, you do all that, and now you're going into the album. Like for an artist, and learning about the whole craft, how is that for you?
It's really interesting because I think it's like any job. Like, I think people expect from artists to kind of know all the artists. Like, people often say to me, like, my friends at parties will be like, oh, you know blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, no.
Yeah.
I know, like, the same amount of artists, maybe a few more sometimes, than most other people. And, like, I've never done formal music school, so I don't know lots of the music theory things. Yeah. And I don't really know about albums, and I've never really learned about that. Like, how I made music was I would see something happen, or I'd think of something and I'd write it down on my phone, and then I'd sit on my little bed and I'd try and play some chords that made sense for whatever it was, and then I'd write out some.
Yeah.
And then I'd go on to the next one. And that just kept happening. Like, from when I was probably 15, like when I probably started writing stuff and singing, to now, like, really. And yeah, so when my songs started being heard and on radio and stuff, I didn't have this magical knowledge come into my brain. It was just kind of like the same stuff that I already knew. And so when people talked about albums, like, I don't know. I never had a plan for that. And it was not something that I had thought about making. And so it took me a while to feel out what it would look like for me.
Yeah, and to segue that perfectly with your new album and again like reading about it and listening to it, this idea of like realizing nobody really knows what's kind of going on and you're learning and growing and realizing we all continue to grow and things like that. I think that's a good point to make. You didn't really know too much about albums, but it's important to grow and things like that, and it's okay to do that as well. So with this album, what I know I kind of spoke about it a bit, but what does it mean for you, and what are some of the songs on the record that really have big importance? I know you might say the whole album is important, but what are some little stories of special moments on the album?
It was really fun for me making the album because I made it. I made 5 of the songs with my friends Sam and Dan, who were in the band Ballpark Music, which is a band that when I was little I thought was really cool. And then they became kind of my music big brothers, and they were really great with that learning thing because I'd come in with songs and they would just help me build them because I knew nothing about production. So with songs like Happy Song, they would let me play stuff on the piano, or like they would let me come up with synth sounds, even though I didn't know how it worked. We'd just sit there for ages, and then they'd play a bunch of drum beats, and I would understand. Like I would pick one out of the 3 or something, and I didn't have any of the words, so we'd have to kind of spend a while just sussing out what I actually meant. And yeah, it was just really, really wholesome, and I felt really supported. And then with recording I Like to Dance, that was I think one of the most meaningful experiences. And writing that song, I wrote it with domestic violence liaison officers, which in Australia, those are the people that help mostly women, but men and children and people in domestically violent families get out. And yeah, it was really intense and emotional, but just to see what these women had experienced and to see how hard they'd worked for so long. They'd worked in it for 20 years. And so I asked them questions for 3 hours, and they were so generous with their time. And then I made the song with my friend Nora and 2 Australian singers, Jack River and Jen Boyce. And we just kind of sat in the studio for 2 days and recorded out the song. So that was really special. And yeah, and then the last 4 tracks I recorded in London at Rack Studios, which is like a really famous studio, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, with Jonathan Cornby, and we did 4 songs in 4 days, so it was really intense. And I love being in London. I lived there when I was little, and it's such a cool place. And yeah, to be able to record at that studio, I felt like proper rock star.
And with music and this album, and being a songwriter, there's so much of writing your own thoughts and ideas and honesty into it. When it comes to releasing records, even this album, do you feel like the sense of relief when it's out, or do you feel a bit nervous that people are finally listening to your words or things like that?
I always have this weird thing happen where, like, when I've recorded a song, even if I think it's good and I've liked all the production, until it goes out, I'm like, I'm not listening to it. I'm not going anywhere near it. I'm just kind of scared of it. And then when it comes out and people are nice about it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is all right. And then, yeah, it happens every time to me without fail. And because this album has been going for 2.5 years, it was just like, I thought it was bad. Until it came out, I was like, oh, it's so bad. I know people are being nice about it, but it's probably bad. And then when it came out and people were really nice, I was just like, oh, okay. my grandma was really nice about it, like my aunties and stuff. So I was like, oh yeah, maybe it's okay. But yeah, it's so strange because it's anticlimactic releases. Like I've always found like release days to be quite sad sometimes because you just wake up and you're like, all right, it's on the internet now, and then that's it. But yeah, I guess it's more sad because it's Corona and there's no shows. But yeah.
As an artist, do you tend to move on really quickly with releases, or do you allow yourself to kind of appreciate the moment? Because I know, you're saying it feels kind of sad that it's out. How are you with your, with your work? Do you tend to just move on, or because I get the sense, it's like your children, I guess, with this music, and you like to keep it to yourself.
Yeah, it is a bit like that. I like making new things. Like I think my favorite part of music is making songs. I think my second favorite is playing them on stage, but that's not a thing at the moment. So I just make a lot of songs, and now I want to make album 2, and I think I've got a meeting after this, and I want to talk about that. And my managers are, it's been like not even 2 weeks, so how about you chill? But yeah, I want to make new songs, but I don't know. Yeah, I think I just want to make new songs.
And usually when I get to the end of interviews, I know we just talked about how there's no shows and things like that. I usually will ask an artist, how is the rest of the year looking with shows and concerts, and you just released an album. But because of COVID and things like that I have to change that question. So on the note of this album and growing, what's something throughout this musical journey that has been an important lesson in growing up for you as an artist?
I think that everyone is going through their own individual story, and that people have always got their own traumas and intricate pain, and they also always have love in their lives and friendship and these big universes of stories that you don't know about. And I think that's something that I have started to appreciate. And yeah, I think this year it's made me more humble and more willing to learn about, I don't know, the things that other people are going through.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out to be on Studio One. I think it's incredible that I'm in the evening and you're in the morning, and I think that's a testament just to how wild life can be. I think that's incredible. Again, thank you so much. I really like your music. Congratulations on this album, and enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll enjoy my evening.
Oh, thank you. And your shirt is so cool.
Thanks.
I love it.
I just got it.
Oh, nice. Well, you have a great night.
Yeah, great
night.
Yeah.
Night.
Right. Yeah. Take care.
Great sleep. Have a good bye.
Bye.
Studio One.